Good morning.
And welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. We're doing a special edition today since I wasn't available yesterday. I had DAV training. We had a all-day class to get recertified as chapter service officers. So I was busy down at the DAV all day yesterday. So I told Kathy, I said, hey, can I come in and do a show on Saturday? And she said yes. And I thought about who could we get, and she says, "Well, I'll reach out to Leslie again because Leslie was nice enough to come in and do this for us, and the system was down." So
And Saturdays are good days for me.
good, good. So, anyways, today our special guest veteran from Cochise County here is Leslie Bryant. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming in and
Absolutely.
taking the time. And she brought a little special, well, not a little, she brought a special guest visitor with us today, and her name is Grilla.
Come
And you want to tell us a little bit about Grilla and introduce her to
here, Grilla.
us?
Come on.
Come here.
Hup. Grilla, hup.
Come here.
So,
Now look at that.
Grilla.
Oh my goodness, what a cutie pie. Hi. Hi, dear.
Grilla came to me a couple of years ago after my service dog passed away. I was looking for a new one.
Uh-huh.
And she was found out in the desert with another German Shepherd and was on her way to the Douglas shelter when the rescue called me and said, "Hey, we found this shepherd. We think she would be great for you to
Yeah.
replace your service dog that passed away." And took a look at her and brought her home, and she's been doing a great job ever since.
And you said this was in Douglas shelter?
She was found out in Hereford in the
Hereford?
desert,
Okay.
but since that's county, she would have gone to the Douglas shelter because only Sierra Vista shelter will only take pets that are inside the city limits. So
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And how old is she?
she's 4 years
About
old
four
now.
years old? And she's such a cutie pie and so well behaved too. So thank you so much for bringing her in. And tell us a little bit about, before we get into your military career and all that, tell us a little bit about what Gwila does for you, or what you've been training her to do to be a service dog.
Sure, she helps with a lot of things actually. She creates space around my body so that people don't get too close. I have a lot of pain issues, and touching and bumping into me will cause me to sometimes fall down just from the pain. So I put her in different locations, either front or rear, behind me, to keep people from getting so
Oh,
close.
wow.
And she also can easily open handicap doors, or doors and anything that's got a handle that will pull down. She can certainly jump up and do that for me. So I just send her forward to open doors. And she's learning to pick things up, but that's still a challenge for her. She'll pick up the things she wants to, but she doesn't
Right?
always pick up the things I need her to.
Not like a can of beer? No, I know you don't. Probably don't. I had a friend though that had a Labrador Retriever, and he would tell the dog, give the dog a command, and he'd go over to the cooler. And the dog, I was just so impressed that animals could do this, and such a dog lover. And he could lift the lid and reach in and get like a soda or beer or whatever, and then bring it. Just really, really amazing. So
A dog can be taught to do almost anything, even dial 911 on an
really,
emergency. Yeah, there are special phones
uh-huh.
with a single button that will specifically dial 911, and you can train the dog to go and push the button in an emergency.
Oh, wow.
And they can pick up your cell phone and bring it to you, bring your medications, anything that you might need.
One thing that I love about, well, there's a lot of things I love about the Warrior Healing Center, but I always meet veterans and they have service animals. Do you call them service animals or service dogs? I mean, what's the proper,
The I don't think there's really any specific proper way
doesn't
to,
matter? Okay.
yeah. If it's a dog, it's a dog.
Yeah.
So
Well, because dogs, the reason I say service animals, because I've heard of other animals being able to do these things too.
well, the ADA only recognizes dogs and
Okay.
miniature horses as far as service animal work.
Isn't that something? Horses, huh?
Yeah, horses are just as smart as dogs.
Uh-huh. And they could do the same functions pretty much?
Yeah, pretty close to the same things. They can pick things up off the ground with their mouth.
Uh-huh.
They can create stability when you're walking. Instead of using a walker all the time, you could actually lean on the horse or use the horse or the dog for the stability.
Oh, wow. Now I want to have a dog around my, or a
A
horse,
horse?
a miniature horse around my house. Oh, my wife would be so upset if I did that, but they're just, I'm a big animal lover. As a matter of fact, I was coming in this morning to do the show, and I was coming on Highway 92, right by the speedway that would be on your right there, and I saw
Mm-hmm.
this golden dog just walking along the road there, so I slowed down because I saw it. And sure enough, that oh, it just scares me when I see dogs, animals when they're doing that. It's just
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous out on the highway. The people go pretty fast right there. So
and how anybody can have an animal. Now, I understand that they can get loose. That does happen, but to get an animal and I don't know. Again, I'm a big animal lover, dog lover, and if I'm going to get one, they're part of the family. They're going to be in the house. They're not going to be outside 24/7. But that's me. So again, Leslie, I want to thank you for joining us and thank you for introducing us to. Oh, help me out with her name again.
Grilla.
Grilla, thank you. With Grilla, and she is so cute. What was it that inspired you to join the military? And when you joined, where were you at the time?
So my inspiration for joining the military, I had my father was in the Air Force. I had an uncle in the Army and an uncle in the Navy, and the Navy really appealed to me because I thought I'll be able to see a lot more of the world going on in the Navy, joining the Navy, and I really looked up to my uncle Pete, who was a career Navy man, and I thought that's what I want to do. And
Okay.
so I was in Nebraska, in a very small town of 350 people. So either
Wow.
you joined the military and left, or you went to college, and college really wasn't my thing. I wasn't thrilled with going to more school, so I joined the Navy instead.
And when you joined, you were in Nebraska. Where did you go for basic training? And
I went to Orlando, Florida for
okay,
boot camp and basic training. And then after basic training, I went to Great Lakes to the basic electronics and advanced electronics program.
okay.
That really wasn't the job for me. I
No,
I dropped out of that. I just thought couldn't see myself being an electrician for the rest of my life. So
okay.
I dropped out of that and got stationed at the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island.
How long were you
And
in Chicago for at Great Lakes?
I was there, um, I think about 6 months.
Because I don't know, but if you were from a small town, I don't know the I know there's a huge difference between small town living and then going to a big city like Chicago. And did you like it there?
I loved
Oh,
Chicago.
I do too.
I spent so
Cubbies.
much time when we would have breaks from school, we
Uh
would
huh.
hop on the train in Great Lakes and go
Yeah,
into Chicago and spend the entire weekend. It's probably my favorite city
it is. It's a
in the
beautiful
United
city.
States, and really enjoyed my time there. But even though I was from a small town, I'd had a lot of experience and
Okay.
exposure to other towns. When I grew up, after my dad got out of the Air Force, we were custom harvesters. So
Okay.
we went from basically Oklahoma all the way to the Canadian border every summer, cutting wheat. So we were exposed to a lot of things,
Oh,
a
really?
lot of a lot of areas and different towns and different types of people. So
A
I
lot of
was
farmland.
absolutely lots of flat ground, but when it rained, we got to visit the mountains and do all kinds of vacationing. So
Wow.
it was a great experience.
So when you went to Great Lakes, and how long were you there for? You said
I was in Great Lakes for about six
for
months.
about 6 months, and then where did you go from there?
And from there, I went to Newport, Rhode Island,
Okay.
and I was undesignated because I had quit my basic school before I finished it. Um, but I got a really great job in security at the Naval War College
Okay.
and took care of all of the officers that were going to school there. Um, Became classified materials custodian,
Wow.
process classified materials and clearances for the officers that were going to school there. So it was a very good experience in the security world at
Uh-huh.
that point.
And how long were you in Rhode Island for?
I was in Rhode Island for about 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah. And then decided I would become a parachute rigger because I wanted to jump out of planes.
Oh my goodness. See, I know when you said that you were in Nebraska, I had to kind of remind myself that with your dad being military, you've probably been around a lot, right? Traveling or
My dad was out of the military by
okay.
the time I was born.
Okay. All right.
He got out. I believe it was the year that I was born. He got out
Okay.
of the military. But because we did custom harvesting,
Uh-huh.
we did travel around a lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
It's just that that's one thing I've noticed with a lot of service members when they're sharing their experiences with me, the travel, and that's just one of the great things about being in the military is you get to go to all these different, not only cities but countries, and
Yes.
experience all of these different customs and rituals that these countries and stuff have. So it can be pretty cool to do that. I didn't get to go in myself, but I love talking to people and getting their experience from it. So after Rhode Island, what was next?
After Rhode Island, I went to New Jersey, to Lakehurst, New Jersey, where the Hindenburg crashed. And
Really?
that's where I went to parachute rigger school in the
Okay.
Navy. It used to be in Lakehurst, then it was moved to Memphis, Tennessee. But I spent pretty much the rest of my time in the military in New Jersey. After I
Okay.
graduated from parachute rigger school, I I also became the secretary for the school. Their secretary retired, and the school was moving, so they didn't want to hire a new one. So they kind of shoved me into that spot. I was on medical hold and couldn't go
Okay.
anywhere, so I took care of all of the students coming into the parachute rigger school.
Refresh my memory if you would, because I been in one of those days for me. What branch were you in again?
Navy,
Navy. Okay.
Navy.
So that's what I wanted to make sure before I asked this question. That's why I asked. I didn't know that the Navy did parachute rigging.
So all anything that saves your life on an aircraft, whether it
Okay.
be life vests, oxygen systems, life flight suits, anything that you would need to survive jumping out of the airplane,
Wow.
the parachute riggers took care of that. I don't think that the rate exists anymore.
Uh huh.
I think that it's been merged with another rate. But yeah, it's anything that saves your life if you have to jump out of an airplane.
Wow. That's awesome. See, I did not know that. So that's something else I got to learn today. Very cool. What was one of your best experiences when you were in the Navy?
Whew.
Can you think of one or?
One that really doesn't have anything to do with the military at all. When
Okay.
I was stationed at the Naval War College, I um, I got to meet Tom Brokaw, the
Oh,
news
cool.
anchor. He
Yeah.
came to speak to the officers at the Naval War College, and I was at that point still trying to decide what I wanted to do, and I kind of had an inkling to maybe go into journalism. And so I asked the admiral if there was any way that I could meet Tom Brokaw, and he said, sure, I can give my MS the day off, and you can. He's got meetings in my office. You can serve us the coffee if you want instead of the MS, and have a few words with him. So that was kind of exciting that an admiral
Wow.
would, let an E3 just
Yeah.
serve coffee only because I really wanted to meet him and get the lowdown on what it was like to be a journalist.
Anything it
So
takes, right?
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
that was pretty fun.
So how long were you in the Navy for?
I was in almost 5 years.
For 5 years?
Yeah,
And where were you at when you got out?
I was in Lakehurst,
You were still
New
there?
Jersey.
And what did you do after you got out? What was your next step?
I actually married another parachute rigger, and then we went to Rhoda, Spain, and Keflavik,
Spain?
Iceland. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So you didn't go over there in the military, but you went over there as
I
a
went as a
civilian.
dependent. Yeah.
Yeah. So your husband, oh, well, duh, because you said he was a parachute rigger. Come on, Mike, think.
Yeah,
So you went to Spain and where else?
and Iceland.
To Iceland. Wow.
Yeah.
Where else did you guys go?
Um, we ended up in Virginia.
In
So,
Virginia?
I mean, I traveled all over Europe when I was living over there.
Okay.
I took advantage of every minute
Yeah.
of being over there. So from 90 to 97, I only stepped foot in the United States once, and that
Wow.
was my grandfather was ill, so I flew back home. But it was a great experience.
Where was your favorite place to be in Europe when you were over there?
I think Iceland is my most favorite country,
Iceland?
and my current spouse is from Iceland. So
Okay. Is that where you met?
no,
No?
actually,
Okay.
we met in Virginia. We were both law enforcement officers in Virginia,
So you were
and
law enforcement too.
yes.
Okay, now you got to tell us how you got into law enforcement.
I became a florist after I moved to Virginia, and
Okay.
I loved that job, but I struggled with working in a job that didn't have a structure.
Okay.
Um, People didn't care what time they showed up to work. It just there felt like there was no. I don't even know how to describe it, but it just wasn't the right fit for me
It didn't feel good.
because of
Yeah.
that. I needed that structure of, you tell me what to do, I do it, I take care of things, and so I became a deputy and for Virginia Beach.
Did you have to go? Well, I'm guessing you had to go through police academy or
Yeah,
anything.
we went
Yeah.
through a law enforcement training academy.
Where was that at?
That was in Virginia Beach.
In Virginia Beach
Hmm.
also?
Yeah.
And the training was for about how long? Is that usually like 8 to 12 weeks, I think?
I don't even remember.
No?
I want to say I started my training in maybe October and graduated in January, the end of January, something like that.
Do you feel that law enforcement is a good fit for military members? I mean, because it seems like I've talked to quite a few veterans that have had some uh, law enforcement experience.
I feel like it is because it has that structure that,
Okay.
especially if you were career military and you're really used to the structure of the military workforce,
Right.
you can struggle getting out and going to a regular civilian job, and I think that firefighters and law enforcement both kind of provide that similar structure of what the military career was like.
And you got the camaraderie, I think, too. I mean, within law enforcement and firefighter, I think that they're a pretty close knit community, just like the military are.
Absolutely,
So,
feel like someone's got your back,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
not shoving a knife in it.
right, yeah. What? How long did you do law enforcement for?
I did that for I don't even remember, a couple of years. It was a couple of
A
years.
couple of years, and
Yep.
then what did you do after that?
I actually went back into the floral industry. The
Okay,
the the florist begged me to come back
okay,
and run their business for them. They were losing money when I left,
right,
and so they asked me to come back and restructure things and save them some money. So I did that, and then we moved out here to Arizona, and I decided I didn't want to go back into law enforcement and be on the road all the time. So,
I was going to ask you, how did you guys end up finding Sierra Vista?
so my spouse went to work for the federal law enforcement agency,
Okay,
and we moved out here for him to work.
and are you allowed to say where that was at, or no?
No,
Well, we won't say. Yeah, okay. So then you got here in what year do you think it was?
2009.
In 2009.
Yeah.
So you've seen a few changes around the area then. You've
Yes.
been here for a little while. So you're here in Sierra Vista, and what are you doing? It's 2009. Just soaking in the
Soaking in the
scenery, or
sun.
yeah,
Yeah. I did. I went to work for American Express for a little while, and then
okay,
I worked for Northrop Grumman for quite a few years.
okay,
And then my sister's husband had a massive stroke, and she really needed me. Um, so I quit my job at Northrop Grumman and went back to Nebraska to spend some time with my sister while her husband was in ICU, and and then helping her after he passed away.
I got to tell you, family is amazing.
It's the most important thing there is. It's
Yeah.
more important than a job. It's more important than your next cup of coffee. It it is. It really is.
Do you find when you made some of those military connections that they kind of became family or really close friends?
Yes, I have friends that I met while I was in the military that are just like sisters and brothers. We still keep in touch, even though it's
Good,
been 20 years, you know, since
good.
I've seen them.
And same with law enforcement too. Do you kind of keep in touch with some of them, or
Yes,
do you?
yes,
That's
yeah.
great. I love hearing that. I mean, one thing I love about Facebook is I was able to connect with friends that I grew up with like 40, 50 years ago. Yeah, 50
Yeah,
years ago,
I
and
connected with some grade school friends, kids that I went to grade school with that I ended up not graduating because we moved,
uh huh.
and I got back together with them, and we all went out for a drink, and it was like, sixth grade was yesterday instead of 30 years, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Wow, that's just great. I just love connecting with them. So Facebook does have a lot of good positive things. It's not all uh, fighting and arguing and all that. So
I just avoid the fighting and arguing.
I'm learning.
If I don't agree with something, I
Yeah,
just, all right, well, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to argue with you about it on Facebook. Number
right.
one, my tone of voice doesn't come across on Facebook, so you really
Correct.
can't tell
If you're
how I'm
if
speaking.
you're joking, if you're serious, and then people will read it or read into line. And I'm learning not to get as involved when I read. Sometimes I comment and I shouldn't, and then I'm like, Mike, just shut up. You're just it's it's I don't know. But the thing that I like about that, even when it's a civil discourse, is that you can learn from other people, and maybe
Yes.
learn some different views that maybe ways that you weren't thinking about something too.
Yeah.
Give you a different perspective. So how did you end up finding the Warrior Healing Center?
Actually, the Warrior Healing Center was developed for me.
Wow.
Tim
That's right.
Tim went through my class. I worked for Soldier's Best Friend as a adoption placement coordinator and dog trainer, training service dogs for veterans.
Okay.
And Tim Kirk went through my program when we had no building to train in. So when we started going out in public, the guys really weren't ready to be in public yet. They were struggling with their PTSD, and their dogs were not ready for public access, but we had nowhere to train other than in my garage or out at the park.
Okay.
And after Tim graduated, he said that he just kept thinking about that if he ever had the means or ability to build me a center,
Right.
that he would. Um, so when this building became available, he said, "Hey, come take a look, see if it will work for at least beginning the training for service dogs." And so we took a look. We found there's a lot of great space here. Our
Yes.
training center is here in the building, and it just kind of snowballed into there were so many nonprofit organizations helping veterans that were working out of their garages and had nowhere to turn, couldn't afford to rent office space,
Right.
and you really struggle to help a veteran out of your own home, um, especially when you're dealing with veterans with PTSD. It's really not in your best interest to invite them all into your home, because sometimes their struggles become more than they can bear, and so you want some place that they can feel comfortable, and you can feel safe as well.
Now, if you're a veteran at home watching this and you feel that you have a need for a service animal and this interests you, how would they go about getting one or getting in contact with you, or how does that
Yeah.
work?
So my program now that I am running is called Hero Paws, and we train service dogs with the trainer the help of a trainer, you train your own dog, but
Okay.
we are with you every step of the way and teaching you and helping you to do that for law enforcement, firefighters, and veterans with PTSD.
Wow.
I have a website, which is myheropaws.org,
Okay.
or they can come into the Warrior Healing Center and pick up a pamphlet. Right on the website, there's contact information. If you send me an email that says you're interested in the program, I can set up an appointment for you to come in and talk about it to see if a service dog really is the right fit for you.
Okay.
Or I can send you the application and we can start the process right there.
How long does it take to get a service dog usually?
So, our program is what we call an owner train model. And the training of the dog with the veteran generally takes about 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
But finding the right dog can sometimes take up to a year. We don't buy dogs from breeders.
Okay.
We rescue dogs from shelters and rescue organizations.
All right.
And there are times when I'm flooded with phone calls by those rescues with dogs that would be perfect
Perfect
for
for.
the program. And there are times when we struggle for almost a year trying to find the right fit of a dog.
Do you have a program, or are people allowed to uh, adopt a service animal to help train it, knowing that they're, you know what I'm saying, like just to help train it, not to keep
So,
this.
like a foster program
Yeah, yeah,
where, like guide dogs for the blind, where
yeah.
they
So
take in a puppy or a dog, we do not have that
okay,
program in place. Um, when we're training dogs specifically for PTSD, for instance, those tasks are very specific to each veteran. We all struggle with PTSD in different ways.
different ways,
And
right?
so the bonding process of just the beginning basic training is what really helps the dog to start understanding the specific nuances of that veteran's PTSD. And so we don't have a program in place for training a dog and then giving it to a veteran. We do have a program in place that we need foster homes for dogs.
Okay,
So once we find a dog that we think will be the right fit for a veteran, we prefer to get it from the shelter and place it in a foster home for a good 3 to 4 weeks before the dog goes to live with the veteran.
okay,
That gives it some decompression time to see if there are behavior issues that didn't show up in the initial um, observation of the dog,
okay,
and we can weed out some of those problems before the dog gets placed with the veteran. We don't want to place a dog with a veteran right away and then have them fall in love with the dog and find out 2 weeks later that the dog isn't going to make a good dog in the program,
right.
because then they struggle with, I want to keep the dog, but this dog now can't be service dog and public access work. So
I was
they
just
don't
checking
want to
her.
get rid of the dog.
I was just looking down to see
Come
what
here.
she was.
Come on.
I thought she's such a cutie pie, though, I tell you. And when, oh yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about. I understand word of mouth because I haven't seen it, but word of mouth that you also have in the building here. You have like a room set up somewhere that's designed like an airplane or airplane seats or something like that. You want to tell us a little bit about that
Sure.
for
We
training?
have, well, this building is an old defense contractors building. So, those of you who know what a skiff is, it
Okay,
is a really heavy lead based room where electronics don't work, but it's got a really hollow floor. And we had seats donated to us by Southwest Airlines
wow.
that we have set up in that room to simulate getting on board an aircraft and teaching people how to place their dog under the seat in front of them, or in front of them if you're in the bulkhead. So
Right.
the first time you get on a plane won't be the first time that you try to experience how to get Grilla, a 60-pound dog. Hup, come on, hup. underneath the seat in front of you.
Yeah.
Because it is a struggle, and
He's so
we
cute.
we use that room. It simulates going down a ramp in the aircraft, and
Okay.
it's very narrow door, so we can simulate going through security in that room as well,
Okay.
and try to give you some experience before the first time you step foot in that. Um, it definitely doesn't teach you everything you need to know, but if you've at least become familiar with something, it's a lot easier to go into a situation if you know what to do when something happens.
And especially those that like to fly and have a service animal, and you're doing the training in here. How many times do they have to go through the training process in that room? I mean, it can't be a one and done type process, right?
No, it depends on the person and the
And
dog,
the dog. Okay.
because some dogs take to it very quickly, very easily, and some dogs don't. And
Okay.
same with veterans. Their dog may be really comfortable in that situation, but if you've if you've experienced combat, especially, and have some really, really severe PTSD, just being in an airport with all those different types of people, all those different types of noises, your stress level is going to go
Yeah.
up immensely. So we try to make sure that you at least are familiar with it and more comfortable with it before you get placed in a situation like that.
And I'm guessing that there's really no actual specific size of the service animals that you're looking for. I mean, they could come depending on, again, the veteran's
It
needs,
depends
right?
on the needs.
Yeah.
We can do a dog as small as a Yorkshire Terrier and as large as an English Mastiff.
Wow. I've met a couple of veterans who have seizure dogs too.
Hmm.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I guess they can detect when somebody's going to have a seizure and help them. And
We don't train for that
you
with
don't,
hero
but
paws,
right,
but it is possible. Yes.
it's still part of uh, their service animal stuff,
Yes.
though. It's just amazing what these animals can do. I just and oh yes, you're just a good girl, aren't you? So tell us a little bit about the program you were saying. Like, is there a cost for it when the veteran comes in
So
to do that?
the cost to the veteran is just 10% of the cost of the training.
Okay,
And it's about $5,000 to train a service dog from start to finish. So the cost to the veteran or law enforcement officer is only $500, which is relatively cheap when you look at, if you're
right.
buying an already trained service dog, they're upwards of 13, 15, $17,000 and more. So we are funded strictly by donations at this point. We are not fortunate enough yet to have received any grants,
Uh huh.
so just the donations from local supporters
Right.
is what's running the program right now, and we're in desperate need of that support as well.
Well,
So
I'll tell you, I'm not tooting my horn or anything, but I donated, and I would like to challenge my viewers here to do the same thing. If you can afford whatever you can to help Hero Paws, I would really like for you to do that. I think it's a great uh, organization, and I think what you're doing for our veterans. And you also mentioned law enforcement and first responders. Are they also
yes.
allowed to come in and
Yeah,
use the same
yes,
training here?
yes. We're Hero Paws was founded specifically for veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and EMTs who
Okay,
struggle with PTSD. Because I can tell you that my PTSD is not from my military career. It was
okay,
more from my first responder. I was an EMT when I was a junior and senior in high school, and and then being in law enforcement. So I know that there are a lot of struggles, and there are not a lot of organizations out there to help with that. So we're here to help with that, even if it's not service dog training. If they are looking for just a companion and they need some help training that companion for home,
uh-huh.
we're open to doing that as well, and training therapeutic companion dogs in addition to public access service dogs.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is I don't know if this is the right term, so if it's not, please correct me. But emotional support dogs,
So emotional support dogs, or we call them therapeutic companion animals,
therapeutic companion. Okay,
is they do not have public access rights to be able to go into the grocery stores, restaurants, things like that.
okay,
The only dogs who are allowed to go into those facilities, according to the ADA, are task trained service dogs.
okay,
So they must have a task that mitigates your disability in a public situation in order to go in to those public places. The training is a lot longer for a service dog because we
okay.
have to teach them. You go in a restaurant, you go under the table. You don't eat off the floor.
Right.
You can't growl at other animals. You can't sniff people and want to say hello to all of the people that you meet. So the dog has to be in control of the situation and comfortable being in a public space in order to take care of someone who has PTSD, who is uncomfortable being in that public space. So that takes a lot longer than just a dog to give us comfort and emotional support.
So when your service animal, your dog's not when she's not working, and she's on, what do you call that when she's not working? You said
I
break or
call her, I tell her to take a break and say hello
okay,
but she's off duty.
off duty. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the word.
Yeah,
Um,
we put her off duty to relax.
how? I'll see if I can ask this question correctly. But does it confuse the dog a lot, especially when they're training, to know the difference between when they're working and when they're off duty?
We start at a very early on training the dog with a vest,
Okay,
which can denote that they are on duty,
okay,
basically. And some dogs very quickly understand that when the vest is on, I am at work and on duty. I can't muck about or mess around. Some dogs, it takes longer to teach them that. And it's really the handler that um, that can tell the dog to take a break and be off duty.
okay.
These dogs, even though they're off duty, they're still doing everything they need to do. They just get some downtime. Grilla right now is watching my back. She's laying behind
Right.
me, even though there's a wall back there. She's creating space around me and watching my back. Even though I let her take the day off today
Yeah.
and didn't put her to work specifically, she still understands this is my job and this is what I'm supposed to do.
Well, and then I noticed that she'll be laying back here. That she'll come up here for a little bit. That she'll be up in the front. So it's kind of like she's watching all your sides and
Absolutely.
moving around. It's not like she's just laying there and zoning
Correct.
out or falling asleep or.
Correct. And I can sometimes get a little bit upset or stressed out.
Uh-huh.
And when I do, she will sit right up and start nudging my hand to try to make me pet her, which then takes my brain off of whatever it was that was upsetting me or stressing me out.
Do you find that veterans that are in stress or PTSD or stressing mode or uh, when they have an animal and they can pet and soothe it that or it's soothing to the veteran too is what I'm trying to ask.
Absolutely. It
So
is. Yes. Yes, it's scientifically proven that petting an animal can reduce your blood pressure and heart
wow,
rate. And so
wow,
that's why dogs make such great companion animals for those of us who get uptight or stressed out.
wow. So with Hero Paws, are you doing all of this on your own? Do you have anybody that's helping you with this?
Right now, it's all on my own. I do have some great board members,
Okay.
um, and they are engaged as much as possible, but I currently am the only employee.
And you do all the training for the when you have the veterans and the dogs in, you're the one that's doing
Yes,
all the training and everything. And
yes.
so when a service member brings their uh, service animal in and they're in for a training session, how long do those training sessions last per day?
Each training session is about an hour long.
About an hour?
Dogs they can lose focus after about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
So the The training session is more for the handler to learn what they have to do when they're not engaged with the trainer. So we give them homework. We work on several things in the hour, and then they go home and they work on each one of those things throughout the day for a week, 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time, so that the dog can be
Wow,
more
okay.
focused and learn those things.
One veteran that I had an interview with last year was a customs, I think it was, but he was a dog handler.
Mm-hmm.
And, to smell for drugs and stuff like that. And he had some fascinating stories to tell us about dogs and stuff like that. Do you have any kind of stories that you want to share? Or
Dogs can do almost anything you train them to do. They're so amazingly smart. I was training another dog before Grilla came along
uh huh.
that could open doors, drawers, pick up coins off of the ground.
Oh
She
wow.
could open, the old-fashioned metal desks that we had in the military.
Yeah, the gray ones.
There were, she could open those drawers very easily. She would just grab a hold of it with her mouth.
Wow.
Um, she was amazing, but she just wanted to play and be with people all the time.
Oh,
And so,
okay.
even though she could do the tasks in an amazing way, she wasn't public access service dog material.
Okay.
Um, because she was just such a happy and people loving dog and ball driven. So I unfortunately I let her go as service dog material, but she was adopted by someone here locally in town that
Okay.
absolutely adores her. And she's very mischievous, opening doors and drawers still, but she's really happy. She gets to run and
Good.
play and swim and do the things that dogs love to do.
Right.
Not
Chase rabbits.
Yeah, absolutely. Not every dog is cut out for service dog work.
Uh huh.
It takes a very special kind of dog because they do have to turn off a lot of instinctual things. They can't sniff every blade of grass that they see. They can't
Right.
smell all of the people in the grocery store. So they don't get to be happy go lucky all of the time. But when they're at home and they're off duty, they do get to be real dogs and
The
play.
the dog that I had recently that passed a couple years ago. His name was Chase, and every time I would take him out, that dog had such a sniffer on him. And I mean, he was just like all over the place, just smelling things. And our veterinarian said that's kind of how when they're sniffing, it's like their brain is on, I don't know, vacation maybe, or they're just so happy, and
Yeah.
it's just like that's what they like to do, and it's just mind blowing for me. What kind of training did you have to get to become a service dog trainer?
So most of my training comes from the just learning on my own.
Okay,
I am a graduate of Animal Behavior College and a mentor trainer for other students of the Animal Behavior College. But the service dog work has really come from my knowledge of PTSD and working with
okay.
veterans with PTSD as well. Um, lots of lots of trial and error, honestly.
What year did you find Hero Paws?
I founded Hero Paws in 2021, so we really only been around for a year.
Okay,
I started it during COVID lockdown. I
all
started all
right.
of the paperwork and getting it going, but we haven't been here for very long. So we hope to make a big splash here in the community.
But again, you were doing with another different
So I worked
organization or something.
for Soldiers
Yeah.
Best Friend. I worked for them from 2012 to 2019
Okay.
as a service dog trainer and as their adoption placement coordinator, finding dogs for the veterans.
Do you know what year the center opened here then?
I don't remember.
No. Okay. I was just curious.
I don't remember honestly. I can't even I can't even fathom that I've had this dog for 2 years. It's
Time just goes by so quick. It's mind blowing. One thing that I really have experienced here at the Warrior Healing Center, and I've been coming in for about a year, is you meet all the different people that work in the building and that come in and out of the building because there's so many different organizations that work here. And again, you have these connections, these friendships, and and military bonds and everything. And it's a really good place to come and join. And I would encourage any veteran to come in here and check it out too.
It is nice to be around like-minded people. Sometimes we struggle with communicating with people who are not military or law enforcement, because we just we live in a different world. And coming here and meeting other veterans that maybe didn't go through the exact same thing that you did, but they can understand your struggles,
Right.
or your joys. It's not always about struggle. There are a lot of times things that make us happy and joyful. We struggle with expressing that
Yes.
to civilians who don't understand some of the ways that our brain thinks. So it's nice to be around other.
Do you have any last words or thoughts that you'd like to share with our veterans?
Well, I want to thank you for doing this and
Oh,
getting the word out to people. But
my
come by
pleasure.
Hero Pause, even if you're not interested in becoming a part of the program or needing a service dog. If you would like to volunteer, or if you're interested in being a foster, we definitely could use that as well.
Great.
And stop by and see us. I'm not in the office as much as I would like to be, because I do also work a full-time job with the city of Sierra Vista. So but I will make appointments and come in to meet you, or talk to you as much as I possibly can.
And if you do have a donation for Hero Paws, you can always bring it in here to the Warrior Healing Center and give it to the volunteer at the front desk because they have a thing in the drawer up there, and all they have to do is put like Hero Paws or your name
Yeah,
on it, and you it will get to you.
absolutely. And we also have a donation button directly on our website. So at myheropaws.org, if
Okay.
you go to the I Want to Donate page, you can donate $5,000 to help with the entire training of a service dog, $2,500 if you'd like to just sponsor a dog, and you can do a monthly donation on there. You can donate as little as $20, $10, whatever you can afford to give. We could certainly use those,
And
and
and with
we're
some of the funding too, you use that for like uh, for what kind of?
so the funding is used to pay for training and supplies for the dog and for the
Okay,
veteran.
you did say that,
We
didn't you?
have the vests that they get once they graduate cost money,
Uh-huh.
leashes, training treats, um, boots for hot pavement, all of that stuff we don't charge the veteran for. We pay
Yeah.
for that out of Hero Paws. So we that's a lot of where most of the money is applied to. And we we also are on Amazon Smile. So if you are an
Oh,
Amazon
okay.
shopper and do a
Yeah.
lot of Amazon shopping, Hero Paws is on Amazon Smile, so you can select the charity and give that way as well.
I like when you said that you used for the treats because dogs love treats and it's a great training tool.
Absolutely.
We used something called Charlie Bears.
Hmm.
They look kind of like pumpkin seeds, but they're a little crunchy, and he loved those. He used to hear the bag rattle, man. He'd come running, and so. Well, Leslie, I want to thank you so much for coming in on Saturday, and you and Grilla.
Grilla,
Got
yep.
it right this time, Grilla, and having you join. Oh, look, I said her name, and
Hop,
she pops up here.
G, hop, come in.
There she is. Beautiful, beautiful dog,
Thanks for
German
having us in.
Shepherd.
We
Oh,
appreciate it.
our pleasure. If you can hang out with us just about a minute or two, I got a couple announcements here to read, and then we'll be all done. Also, next Friday there won't be a show because I'll be at a convention up in Tucson, so I won't be able to even come in and do a special Saturday show. I apologize for that, but I will be back in 2 weeks to do another interview. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming
Yeah.
in today.
Thanks for having me.
Some of the events that we have going on here at the Warrior Healing Center that we'd like to put out to you. There's going to be a rummage sale today Today, yay! I'm so used to reading these on Fridays. Starting at 0800, and it's going to go until 1500 hours. And that's going to be at the American Legion Post 52 here in Sierra Vista. Again, that's a rummage sale going until 1500 hours at American Legion Post 52. Also, there is a weekly PMCS group that meets here every Saturday morning at 0930. So if you think you would be interested in meeting with some other veterans, like-minded veterans, and you need some kind of support, come in and talk to them. Their meeting is held again here at the Warrior Healing Center, and that's every Saturday starting at 0930. On Sunday at 0900 and going to 1500 hours is the ALR car wash. And ALR, I love Kathy. She put a little cheat sheet on here so I know what all these acronyms were for. ALR, American Legion Riders. So the American Legion Riders car wash is going to be at Title Max Title Loans, which is down there. I call it the old Po Folks building. Sunday 0900 to 1500 hours. There is on Monday, the 16th of May, starting at 1700 hours and going to 2000 hours, is the WACBA AWU Dine to Dash fundraiser. And that's going to be at Benny's New York Pizza. And I believe a percentage of your purchase will go to support them. And that organization is the Women's Army Corps. So come on out to Benny's Pizza and support the Women's Army Corps. I know that they would appreciate it. Also on Thursday, May 19th, starting at 0900, going to 1100 hours, our Bagels and Brew will be back. We had a really good turnout last month. This month it's going to be sponsored by the Knights of Columbus. So come on down and talk to some fellow veterans down here. It's free. You get to have some good coffee. You get to have a bunch of nice food that they put out. And
It's delicious food.
Yeah, they put out a heck of a spread. And have you ever been to one?
Yes.
You have. I thought you did, but I wasn't sure because there's so many people, and you start getting caught up in. It's just hard to keep track of everybody that's come in for that. Saturday, May 21st, they're going to have a Clug Install Fest, and that's going to be taking place here at the Warrior Healing Center beginning at 10 o'clock. Again, Saturday, May 21st, starting at 10 o'clock and going to 1600 hours. It's the Clug Install Fest here at the Warrior Healing Center. Hey, if you like bingo, there's going to be bingo Saturday, May 21st, starting at 1500 hours, going to 1700 hours down at the American Legion, post 24, if I read that right. You know where post 24 is? Is that Tombstone?
I think so.
I think it is.
So.
And let's see, we got a spaghetti fundraiser, which is taking place Saturday, May 21st, starting at 1700 hours. And that takes place at American Legion Post 52, and the cost for the spaghetti dinner is only $10. And last but not least, I wanted to mention karaoke, because there's got to be some great singers out there in the crowd somewhere watching this. If you love to sing, come into karaoke May 21st, May 21st at the American Legion Post 24, and that starts at 1800 hours. Again, thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us. And Grilla, thank you so much for joining us. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
There you go.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend now.